good one.
It'll come back.
You know, Diva Dan and I were here last week, and it was the first time he truly enjoyed your class after almost 6 weeks of being here. And the reason for it is actually, Ellen said something the week before that actually caught his attention, is that just to relax, because we were in a position that it was really uncomfortable, and I was sitting beside Daniel, and I'm just laughing. And Ellen says, you know what? Laughing is a form of actually letting go and relaxing. And finally, he just allowed himself to laugh. And then he actually allowed himself just to let go of his fears and his tension and just go with the moment. And last week was the first time, and he got further, and I think just doing that, he got further in his stretches by just allowing himself to let go.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're encouraging.
Oh, for sure. Because a lot of our life, we're pushing. And yoga's opposite. Yoga's just relax wherever you are. The yoga theory is that when you're comfortable where you are, it's easier for you to go for it. Wherever that is you're going next. Get yourself together, you know, build up whatever strength you need and go. You know, rather than, sometimes I think we're running away from ourselves. And, you know, even things like perhaps cancers. I mean, yogis want us to own ourselves, be nice to ourselves, send light and energy to those areas. Sometimes if you know you've got a cancerous tumor, it's almost like you block the energy flow right off to that part of yourself because you can't stand it, you know, and it's in our body. Like we've got to somehow heal it, whether with outside help or however we're choosing to do it, but blocking things out isn't usually the way it works. So, and yeah, just letting ourselves go, because a tense muscle is short and fat, ready to go. And there's a time for ready to go, there's a time for relax. And a lot of times in our society, we're so hyper-vigilant of we need to be, you know, things going on around us, keep ourselves safe. But sometimes that fight or flight that starts never turns into a run. So we've got all this energy and the hormones and the chemicals and, you know, the blood ready to run, but we don't run, you know, but some parts of our body are kind of on that state, on that edge all the time. And it's, you know, we need to also balance that with relaxing and let go. Sometimes we have to learn it again, because sometimes yoga is undoing and unlearning all that racing and stretching this, you know, trying to be where we're not, just relaxing, letting go and being where we are. Enjoying the moment.
That's true. Now there's all kinds of age groups that are actually attending this. I know that on our Wednesday nights when we come here, it's actually, there's this little teenage girl that apparently can do things that I only dreamed of doing. And then there's older people that actually can still do more than I can do. Yogi James is one of them.
Oh yeah,
he
he's
just,
good.
yeah, we just watch him, we're like, holy cow, but he actually wants me to push to go further, knowing that, you know, watching another guy, and this is a great thing, it's actually a good mix of guys versus girls in here, so you don't feel like you're out of place in here.
And Yogi James too actually recovered from a huge car accident. You know, like he had everything broken in his body, and I could say, and doctors would have said he needed to walk. So I mean, he's a really good example of somebody who's just slowly strengthening himself back together. A lot of people you meet in yoga may not look the healthiest when you first meet them, and you, except for me, I meet people in yoga and think, I'm not going to eat macrobiotic because I want to look like them. You know, or people that are so thin, their bones are sticking out. But then I found out later, they were recovering from cancers, or they were in the midst of all kinds of cancer treatments, or they were, you know, had some other disorders, and that's why they were coming to yoga, to help them heal. And so lots of times you meet people in yoga at various stages of healings, or, you know, it's very empowering. It's obviously not for everybody. I mean, I wouldn't be able to play football. I have no interest in that. And, you know, some football players might use yoga, some might not. But it's a good way to exercise where you don't feel like you're exercising. You know, where you can also relax, take your time, and I can go try that. And you know, for people who have never stood on their head or, you know, done splits in their life, if they want to, as an adult, most people can do those things. Most people. It doesn't require special genetics. It requires lots of lengthening of certain tendons over and over again, and then strength building in the abs and the headstands, and a little bit at a time. And you know, some people may have no desire at all to do those things, but for the people who do, they will. You know, if you want to, a little bit at a time.
But I think that's the misconception here with yoga. When you think yoga, you are thinking back bends, you are thinking handstands, you are thinking stuff that you only see in Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, and like in the
And that's not true, I guess, in the class, like the hour and a half that you get here. it's not. That's not true at all. There's so much more stretching on the floor in safe. Like that is just a small part. And again, you don't have to do it if you don't feel comfortable there, because she'll give you alternative suggestions. And if you're not comfortable, like I hate the tree. I have, you know why? Because I pull the leg hair out of my leg with my foot. So I prefer to hold it on my leg in front of my body and try to balance. And apparently, I'm still getting the same.
Oh, actually, that's right. You have a cool way of doing it. Actually, you create an energy circle by which is cool. What you're doing would have a name. It would have a Sanskrit name. It's different than the tree, but it would have a name too.
She has a name for everything though, because I know Daniel was trying to reach for her toes and said, "Oh, look, Daniel's doing the baby." I'm like, I'm gonna do a position and see if it has a name.
Yeah.
Because I swear to God, there's a name for everything.
Yeah, a Sanskrit name, and I'm a little loose on that. But.
I almost want to test her and pull a move and see what she comes up with then.
Yeah. Look over there and look at that poster of Dharma-mitra. See what it's.
So, how do you remember all these? Like, there's so many names. How do you remember?
Well, I've been doing yoga since I was 16 when I broke my back. So I've been studying it, and I really am a yoga nerd. I read yoga before I go to bed at night. I'm always looking. I've got dailies I get from Yoga Journal on my website or on my internet email. Every day, I really am a yoga nerd. I have never done learning. I always, every single day, I can read something, and maybe I read it before and I didn't get it. Maybe I wasn't at a place where I was able to absorb that or understand that part of it. Because yoga's huge. Like, I mean, yoga's not just the physical aspects. There's, the breathing techniques. There's the, philosophies and lots of different really cool stuff that comes to us from Indian culture that's kind of